Often the symptom that causes you to take notice of the bug is not actually what's causing it. In this case, some heavier measures might need to be taken. Wolf fence is an algorithm often applied to debugging. Edward Gass described it as follows. There's one wolf in Alaska. How do you find it? First, build a fence down the middle of the state. Wait for the wolf to howl. Determine which side of the fence it is on. Repeat process on that side only, until you get to the point where you can see the wolf. This process requires that your wolf cannot jump fences. There are other debugging algorithms too. Algorithmic debugging compares the results of your code with what you intended it to do. Then it grills you with questions that encourage you to think about the problem in a new light. New ideas lead to new solutions, or new stress as you discover different errors that had yet to reveal themselves. Delta debugging is made up of, and I quote, two different algorithms. Simplification and isolation. In this algorithm, the failure-inducing input is simplified by examining smaller configurations of the input. The algorithm recurses on smaller failure configurations until it cannot produce a smaller configuration that still produces a failure. That's it. If you think that's complicated, Google SAF squeeze. It's difficult to tell them apart, but once you figure out what they mean and hopefully how to apply them to software debugging, I'm sure it'll only take you marginally more time than debugging would have just taken with a debugger. On to debuggers. The experts suggest learning how to debug without a debugger before learning to rely on one heavily. That said, they are incredibly useful for helping you step through code. If you know your debugger well, it can save a lot of time. It also keeps you from having to remove a bunch of print lines or print format lines from your code if you choose to go with the print debugging technique. Many IDEs, as well as compilers, can have debugging features. Java's JVM is one example of a compiler that does static analysis of code. Using the command line, you can detect a number of basic semantic problems such as type mismatches and dead code. Let's look at an example of the Eclipse IDE debugger in use.